Hello traders, welcome to Zion Traders. So today we'll be analyzing DXY, which is the benchmark asset for dollar index, right? So let's take a look at the fundamental perspective before going to the technical perspective. So as you can see, as of last week, right? So CPI NFP was released and it came out positive. 177,009 jobs were created, and this is actually very good for the currency, right? So this actually means that there's a level of economic growth because if there is no growth, new jobs won't be created like as we have right now. There's a level of economic growth. That's actually what it means, right? So yeah, and if there's a level of economic growth, it actually strengthens the currency, right? So that's why. So it's positive for dollar currently. But let's take a look at the CPI. And what does the CPI involve? You see the change in the price of goods and services purchased by consumers. This CPI, what does that mean? It actually means high inflation, right? Inflation is rising, and when inflation is rising, what will Fed do? They want to hike interest rate in order to curtail the inflation, right? So, but then in this case, we have negative CPI, which means that there's no expectation for interest rate hike, and if there's no expectation for interest rate hike, it may not really affect the market positively that way, which is the currency positively that month, right? Let's take a look at for the MOM, which is for the monthly. So monthly came out also bearish, which is also negative, not bearish, negative. However, it's slightly above the previous one. So this is actually not good, but then it's a bit better off, right? So seeing that it's above the previous, right? So these are what we have currently, right? So since CPI is actually very bearish, then there is actually no expectation for interest rate hike. Now, even because of all of this, I believe because of all of this that is happening, enough for them to encourage spending and all of that, Trump had to tell Fed to cut interest rate by 100 basic point, but then Fed refused to do that, to cut interest rate as a result of economic uncertainties currently, right? So that's pretty much it. But then, if we notice on looking at the GDP actually contracted by 0.2% in Q1 2025, right? So this is actually also very negative for the dollar. So overall, in summary, dollar in a long run, I will say is actually very weak. That's the truth. It's very weak. But then, if we look at the CPI NFP we had the last NFP we had, which is last week, it came out positive, and that could influence. I'm not saying no, but it could influence CPI that is going to come because if there is a level of a high more jobs are being created, it means more people are being employed, more people are the citizens are having money. What does that mean? So it will encourage more spendings, and when it encourages more spendings, what will happen? So it will make CPI to increase to be up, right? So that's pretty much it. So for today's CPI, for me, I'm expecting it to go bullish. And why am I expecting to go bullish? Not because of the data we have fundamentally. Overall, dollar is actually bearish. That weak. Let's use that word. The economy is weak in the long run, in the long term, is actually very weak. So if it comes out bearish, I won't be surprised. Which is if today's CPI comes out negative, I won't be surprised. But then if it comes out positive, I'll be very happy because I have a trade currently running, which is on Euro USD, which is a sell. So let's see how it goes, guys. Let's really take a look at the technical perspective. So if we look at this right here, we have a break of structure bearish, right? So, and if we see what has been happening, well, let me just zoom up, right? You guys are going to see this bearish candle. So this engulfing candle for me is a concern. So I'm actually expecting market to go bullish from here, but then because of this bearish engulfing candle right here, if it goes bearish, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised. That's just the truth. I won't be surprised because it gave a signal, right? So let's go to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, we can see right here there's a change of character right here, and I always tell you guys whenever you see a change of character, it means there's a possibility of trend reversal. However, it could also be just an inducement sweep, but then let's just whichever way, right? So as we can see, so price return back to this order block right here. So let's see what is going to happen from this order block. So on the 4 hour time frame, the same thing right here. So we have all of this. So I only refine the other block to on the 4 hour time frame, and this is what we have. So it means we are actually still bullish. But if we take a look at something right here, we also have a change of character bearish and also a break of structure bearish. So If it goes like I said before, if today's CPI comes out negative and it makes the market to actually set, and then we eventually take out this low, I won't be surprised, right? Because it gave a signature, right? It gave a sign that it could possibly go down. But then overall, currently my bias is actually bullish for DXY. At least for the short term, not for the long term. Long term is actually very bearish. But then for the short term, let's just align our analysis. Let's just follow what happened during this last week NFP and see if it could influence today's CPI. If today's CPI comes out bullish and influence the market to go bullish, it's going to be good for me. But if it doesn't, it's part of it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow. God bless you.